We're joined today by Dennis Sobin. He is the founder of Safe Streets Arts Foundation and also the Prisons Foundation, and also the creator of idiotsregistry.com, which has been a matter of some controversy here in Washington, D.C. There was a court ruling yesterday which ruled in favor of Mr. Sobin. There was a complaint by one of the people that was on the registry who worked at the register office. And Dennis, why don't you just go ahead and tell us what the concept was behind idiotsregistry.com and how you came to think about it, and what happened with the court yesterday, and what the implications of that. We'll go ahead and let you just do the talking.
Well, first let me correct you about the name. It is Idiots Registry, but it's idiotsregistry.info, I-N-F-O. The reason for that is you can buy the info websites a lot cheaper than the com. And I said, well, when I started it a little over a year ago, I said, well, if it doesn't get any attention, if it doesn't really do anything, but it has gotten a lot of attention. My thought about this is that whoever the government registers and whoever participates in that registration process has to be a fool, has to be an idiot, because it's counterproductive. It hurts people who are trying to start over after imprisonment, if they go to prison. And the registry is just smack of what the Nazis did during the and hurting the Jews, what we did in America for a short period with the Muslims, registering them shortly after 9/11. That was short-lived. And witches in Salem, they created lists of suspected witches. So this goes back, and now the latest incarnation of this is that people who are convicted of certain crimes, often sexual-related crimes, sometimes drug-related crimes. It depends on state-by-state basis. It all varies. But to actually punish these people beyond what a judge decided to punishment is unfair and un-American. However, the U.S. Supreme Court has declared that this is not punishment. Yes, they agreed punishment after already a judge already issued other punishment would be a double jeopardy, would be ex post facto, can't do it. But they said these sites are purely informational. The government has this information. If they want to share it with the public through registry, it's fine. So I got the idea, I said, well, if it's just informational, I could create a website too and publish the names of people who are participating in this process, call them idiots, because I think they're idiotic what they're doing, if not downright exploitive, and plaster their pictures and names and identities all over the internet and beyond, in terms of getting flyers out, etc. And in doing this, a person objected, a low-level bureaucrat who works on registering people, putting their pictures and names on the website. And as the person said to the judge the other day, said he threatened me. I threatened this person. Well, what did he say? He said that you are putting my picture and my name on the website. I'm going to do the same thing to you. And she said, that's my job. And I, of course, responded that the people at the Nuremberg trial said the same thing. I was only doing my job. That doesn't make it right what you're doing, and that doesn't exempt you from exposure on our website as an idiot. It all culminated in a court hearing yesterday. Actually, it was a series of hearings. This was the last one yesterday. We did have the participation of the ACLU, who came firmly on our side and submitted a brief to the court, saying that we had a First Amendment right to do this. And the judge agreed. The judge said yesterday, and it wasn't just that our website can go unimpeded, but there are other elements too that were questioned, which we are now going to take advantage of with this favorable ruling. Number one, taking a picture of this person, a government employee, could be anyone, without her permission. She resented that. She said, you don't have permission, you can't do it, and in a private place, her office. not on a public street. That was the first thing the judge ruled on. We had a right to do it. As long as we had access to this person, as I do, as a registrant, one of her registrants, I could take her picture, and I did. Number two, she said, okay, even if the website is okay, how about the fact that he, Sobin, me, distributes flyers all over my workplace with my picture on it, saying that I'm on his registry, that I'm an idiot, that people can go to the registry and confirm that I am a registered idiot. She resented that, and the judge said, no, the flyers too are protected from by the First Amendment. So we won on all counts, and now. And as I was interviewed by the Washington Post on this afterwards, they said, well, what are you doing with all of that? I said, I'm making this battle personal. It's no longer the politicians involved who are in their ivory towers and don't really care what people say about them. It's the people who carry out their dictates, their crazy ideas just to get publicity, and those are the people we're going after directly and personally. And that's what we've done, and I understand this one person who brought this action against us, according to her testimony, already requested a transfer to another job assignment. And if this happens across the board nationally, there'll be a new day. The registries, the government registries, will no longer exist if no one carries them out. Just as Hitler's dictates would not have meant anything if he didn't have underlings to carry them out. I mean, he never hurt anyone. He was just a crazy politician up there. But there were people who carried out these things, these terrible, terrible ideas that he had. And the same thing is happening now. We're going after those people.
Didn't you find it interesting that this person, her complaints were the same complaints that a lot of people who are on sex offender registries have? Why am I on this? This is hurting my life. This is interfering with my work. But you served your time in prison.
That's right.
And you should be on the same level as she is. But do you think that they appreciated that? Do you think that anybody in the court, even though it was simply about protecting First Amendment rights, do you think that anybody in the court, maybe even the judge, or appreciated the fact that, hey, this guy's got a point?
Yeah, I think the judge did. But I think the other side just talked on the fact that, once, if you made a mistake in your lifetime, we would judge you for the rest of your life based on that mistake. Or in my case, I didn't even make a mistake. The government made a mistake, but, a jury agreed with the government instead of me. So, but at any rate, we don't have to go over that unless you want to. But
I was going to ask you about your
That's a very interesting matter. You want to talk about that now?
Well, yeah, sure. Let's just go ahead and start.
I even have an article to take with me if you want to elaborate. An investigative reporter did on this, which provides some confirmation.
Yeah, I read that.
Okay. Well, I went down to Florida with my family, stayed at a closed optional resort, and I shot a very harmless video of the thing. And one of the people at the resort who owns a house there and was very secretive about, leading a double life that a lot of these people do, and was very resentful about the video and said, well, what are you shooting this there? I said, well, just my family, no one else is in it. She said, well, we don't want any video here, destroy it. I said, wait a minute, it's mine, you can't, do that. She said, well, if not, I'll go to the police. I said, about what? It's a harmless thing. She said, well, I saw you point the camera incorrectly. I said, that's ridiculous, and plus the video will show that. I did not. The police came, took her word at it, arrested me. I said, okay, well, once they view the video, it'll be fine. They viewed it, and then it became a matter of this northerner, myself, against the local, and this is a rural county of Florida, by the way, a rural southern county.
Which county? Where was it?
Pasco County, Florida. Okay. And so the prosecutor said, look, he said, here, juries will, they like to convict. If there's some smoke, they figure there's fire. Okay, the video, I agree with you, is harmless. It doesn't show anything inappropriate. but who knows, maybe you erased part of it before we got a hold of it. I said, well, as soon as you came down, a half hour after this person called the police, you took the video, I gave it to you arrested me. I mean, we said, well, a half hour you could do something with it. I said, come on, I mean, there's no evidence of a race. She said, well, whatever, plead guilty to a misdemeanor, just trespassing or something. I mean, it wasn't trespassing, but it's something unrelated to sexual things. And, we'll give you $100 fine and you can go. I mean, I said, this is ridiculous. You've disrupted my family. You put my kids, took my kids, away from me, which I got back. But still, it was a very traumatic thing for the whole family. And so I said, no, just drop them. And I said, well, can't do that. It's got too much publicity, this case. And we feel there's something here. And so they took me to trial, and I was convicted. The jury said, well, maybe he erased it. We have an eyewitness here that said he found his camera inappropriately. And at that point, I had a very interesting thought going through my mind. I said, I understand why, and again, going back to the Nazi period when justice was stood on its head, why so many of those Jews kill themselves. They committed suicide before subjecting themselves to the gas chamber. Why did they do that? And I thought of it because they just had no foundation. They didn't believe in justice anymore. And that's what happened to me. And not that I was depressed. I was for a little while. But then I started reading. I started planning on the future in prison. And I spent 10 years in prison because I would not pay a $100 fine. And I don't regret it to this day. Sometimes you have to draw the line on this thing. You have to stand up for your rights. And there are people dying, in wars, etc., because, they are fighting oppression and losing their lives. I did not lose my life. I lost a few years, which I used for very productive purposes. I'm a very good guitarist now, classical guitarist, well-read person, and my writing has increased, and plus I'm a touch typist, which I could never do before, and which is very vital in the computer age.
What was it like being in prison as a convicted sex offender? Do you think it was more difficult for you than what would be for other inmates? Or
no,
was it...
one of the things first of all, what happened to me is not unusual. A lot of people go to prison for the most minor type of things, even in the sexual thing. After this publicity hit on what we were doing to oppose the registry, I've been getting emails from all over the country. One mother just said to me the other day, my son's very depressed. He did 16 months in prison and is on the registry now. Why? Because he opened up some unsolicited emails that were sent to him, by the government, entrapping him. Maybe he shouldn't have when he saw the message on top, but he did. And based on that, he was given this time. And it would have been a lot more if he didn't plead guilty on that. And when I got to prison, I realized that. I realized these were guys there in the most minor things, and it was no. I know you hear stories about people, for sex offenders, mistreated in prison, but that was not my experience. It was just too many of us there.
So there's a real sense that there's a lot of people who are there wrongfully convicted of sex crimes.
Oh yes, it's a big industry in America. Right. I mean, because it doesn't take anything to do it. You have to have, as in one case, is someone making an accusation. For example, one guy who was there was convicted of touching his infant son, inappropriately. Now, obviously, the infant son couldn't testify to that.
Sure,
there were no pictures, but the wife did. The wife who had a I said, why? So she has a boyfriend, and I was on the scene. Now I'm off the scene.
Right.
She has a house. I've got nothing. And it was just her word that did it. That's all that it takes. So for anyone listening here, if you want to get rid of somebody, this is the way to do it. Just make an accusation. I mean, it's just your word against that person. And if that person has any credibility problem, and in my case, I probably did because I was very active before, and I was very active in libertarian type of movements, decriminalization, unpopular things, you know, decriminalization of drugs, decriminalization of prostitution. And when this was brought out at trial, the fact that I had run for mayor of Washington as a libertarian, they said, well, obviously he's the type that would do something like this and would even destroy evidence to cover himself. So
they actually played against you in your trial. With the
very much against me.
Did the prosecutor bring that up?
They flew people from Washington, D.C. to talk about my eccentricities.
Really?
My enemies up here, political enemies. They spent money on this trial because it got so much publicity down there that I was actually opposing them. And you have to keep this in mind, Robert. You know this too. 95% of the people in America who are accused of a crime don't go to trial.
Right.
I mean, I think I read an article the other day. It said our trials becoming extinct in America because when I got to prison, well, even while I was in jail waiting, before I got out on bond, waiting for the trial, but they said, well, why don't you plead guilty? I mean, that's what we do, you know. I said, well, because I didn't do it. He said, what does that have to do with it? I mean, a jury, you know, you want to really take that chance. My lawyer said the same thing to
Sure.
me. And nobody I ran into in jail had ever gone to trial. They just pled guilty.
Right.
I mean, they just pled, you know, and they say, wow.
Oftentimes
I'm so
when they were-
lucky. I only got 5 years. I could have got 25 years.
And in many cases, they're completely innocent. They didn't.
It doesn't matter. I mean, because the lawyers would say, no one's fully innocent of anything. You know, you did something and you lied to them. Yeah, I mean, that's their line on it. I mean, say, you know, and even if they say, okay, I believe you're innocent, but you really want to take this chance with the jury. And my attorney went further. My attorney said, you know, a client of mine recently made the same decision you're making, and he's going to die for it. He's on death row now. They offered him a life sentence. He said he didn't do it. And they convicted him, and now they're going to kill him. You know, so my decision was easy. I mean, I was going to live and live with my principles. This other fellow's going to die with his principles. Terrible in America for that to happen.
You were joined, just more about the trial yesterday and the people that were present. You were joined by the ACLU.
Yes.
And I said you've been working with them in the past.
Yes.
You have a long history.
As I mentioned, my libertarianness, my confronting authorities about victimless crime laws and the persecution of people who are not hurting anybody but just practicing their own kind of morality. And my first issue was in the early 80s, picketing on behalf of gays who they were arresting left and right, the early 1980s. I mean,
you were living here at the time, right?
Living here.
Back then they had morality laws.
They had the police had their. I even had old pictures of the morality division.
Right.
They renamed it the Vice Division. It sounded a little better, but it was the morality division that enforced the morality laws, including the anti-sodomy laws. That what they did was station undercover police officers in parks and men's bathrooms to solicit men, and when men accepted their solicitation, were arrested. You know, I mean, which is the same thing happening now with women and men. And that made no sense to me whatsoever. And so I very much oppose them, even crossing the line sometimes. And as I mentioned to you earlier, sending sketch artists to the trial to sketch undercover police officers so people on the street would know who's part of this morality division. And they would avoid associating or accepting the solicitation from that person.
Were some of these guys from the morality division, were the guys that were flown down by the prosecutor in your trial?
In Florida?
Yeah, Florida. Or somebody associated with
some of their allies were.
Right,
I don't think they. I can't remember. I don't think they did directly,
Uh-huh.
but they helped recruit to do the research to find people,
Right.
etc. Morality type of people
I see.
who they said, yeah, we confronted Sobin, and he was like this. So that's all they needed: character destruction.
Sure. You're also joined, get back to the event yesterday. You're also joined by Vicki Henry, with Women Against
Vicki
Registry.
Henry, a very
Yeah.
good person, just had some email correspondence this morning.
Oh.
In fact, that woman has had a major influence in my future on this whole project, which I can explain in a minute. Vicki Henry came in from, I believe it's Indianapolis, flew in specifically to be part of our demonstration yesterday, which, as I say, if you want the footage on that,
Sure.
Robert, I can give you, could use for whatever you wish. And she heads an organization called Women Against Registry, WAR, war. And she has a big sign that says war, and I love the name of the organization. I love what they do because it shows a certain amount of militancy, and the subtitle, or not the subtitle, the mission of the group, which is on their banners, which we carried around yesterday around the courthouse, and sub-freezing temperature. The mission is fighting against the destruction of families. And that's what her group, Women Against Registry, do, because they feel, and I agree with them, that these registries destroy families. It has an impact on families, taking the breadwinners out of the family, pitting brother against sister, because once people end up on the registry, and it happened in my case, in my family, if other family members, quote, are very respectable, have respectable jobs, they don't want to threaten that by saying a member of their family is on the ex-offender registry. Or if you want me to use the three-letter word, sex, offender registry, I'll do that too. But these families often disassociate themselves from these other parties. Sometimes they have to if their residents are at stake. I mean, they might be thrown out of their buildings. In fact, there are some laws, if they're in public housing, that they can't have such a person living with them. Some jurisdictions have zoning so that if a person on the registry lives, can live within a certain distance. So the family is either faced with moving or getting rid of the registrant, and they often choose a land. It destroys families, it's an awful, awful thing. And based on that, we're thinking at this point of changing the name of the registry to something like that, Family Destroyers Registry. And we can mention on the top incorporating the Idiots Registry, etc. But I got so much email from people saying that, look, this is what happened to me, my family, my son, my father, my sister, my brother, and it really has a devastating effect, and it extends more than to individuals, but it covers entire families, and as Vicki Henry says, really destroys families. So I think we should focus specifically on that, and I also want to take this a step further and start going after the vigilantes out there, and I've already received names from people. For example, there's a woman in Florida called Valerie Parkhurst who delights in researching the website to find out who's living in the community and then posting signs around the community with the person's picture. Well, we'll do the same thing. Well, for example, with Miss Parkhurst, we'll create our signs from the Family Destroyers Registry, warning the neighbors that we have a gossip here, we have a person intent on destroying families, and they should just be very careful of her. We'll also have a note saying they should not take any violent, aggressive action against her, but if she does anything criminal, they should call the police at once regarding Ms. Parkhurst. And her picture and flies will be splashed around the community. And my organization is ready to spend some money on doing this.
How big is your organization? How big
Well, we have, we've received government grants of over $100,000, and that's verifiable.
Wow.
We have people around the country. How big? We're like the Red Cross. I mean, not in size, but the Red Cross, for every one employee, has 1,000 volunteers. We've got a lot of volunteers here, and we do a lot of things. And most of our work, including my work, is coordinating these people. These are people who will do anything. I mean, because they've been personally affected by not the registry. This is an adjunct of what we're doing, but becoming an important one. But by the prison system. Too much incarceration in America. People don't have a fair chance at trial without being intimidated. Poor public defender services where, there's very little representation of people. And there's a lot of people motivated to help us based on that. And again, our organization is concerned about boosting up people while they're in prison. We're about the arts, and when they create art in prison, we want to display it, we want to show it, and that shows the humanity of people in prison. And we also have a publishing program. We publish books by people in prison on our website, and this is the way we go about doing it and go about fighting for their rights by letting them express themselves. And so this additional adjunct of it is important. How big is our organization? Medium to small size, but not impoverished. We just bought some property in Virginia. We have a good stock portfolio that's making money. And we have cash in the bank. And largely because of all these volunteers that help us. Instead of hiring, for example, a web developer, I'll put a word out on the internet, hey, anybody can do this. Instead of hiring an editor for some of our publications, I'll put the word out and I get 10 people responding to it. We have 2,500 people on our active list of supporters. They give money, and we make money from the prisoners. How? We're one of those organizations that say, oh, we're going to give you everything, we're going to do that. We say, you give to us too. And what they give us is a lot of art. They get some good money. And we split it with them, but we still make our money. So we believe in social entrepreneurship. We believe in people helping themselves if they can. And people in prison still can do things and have done a great deal to help us. Our organization is based on their help, not on us just helping them, but they're helping us. And we're very successful as an organization.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining me today, Mr. Sobin.
Okay. We're here at D.C. Superior Court in Washington, D.C., January 28th, the year 2014. And with me here among the protesters, demonstrators, David Schwartzman. But you identify yourself, why you're here, and what you're doing for this effort.
Yes, I'm happy to be here, even though it's very cold, in front of Superior Court, because as a candidate for the D.C. State of Green Party, I'm running for the U.S. Senator, the shadow position. We put a priority on restoring the full rights of our returning citizens or ex-offenders, who amount to 60 to 70,000 residents of our city. And so this is a priority for us, and the registries are clearly aimed at discrimination and removing the basic rights of people who serve their time. This is discriminatory. It's a violation of human rights, and we protest that, and we want it removed.
Well, as an ex-prisoner, I appreciate you being here among the others. Okay, why are you here? Say something about yourself. Your full name.
I'm Perry Red, and I'm a formerly convicted person. I'm an activist here in the city. I'm also an advocate for those who have been previously convicted. I've run for office here in the city. I've been one to espouse the human rights of those who are formerly incarcerated. Once redemption and the process of paying for one's crimes are complete, one needs to be made whole, and our society sees it fit to keep people ostracized, keep people marginalized. And when the unemployment figures are reported, those who are formerly incarcerated are not even in those numbers. And so, we, and I say we because I am one, although, I'm quote unquote a productive member of society, I'm still marginalized.
Perry, we need you on the city council here in Washington, and we need you in national office once you achieve your local office here. I have to get to some of the people. It's bitter cold out here.
Oh, yes.
And we have a few other people who
Sure,
are here.
sure.
But good luck to you,
Yes,
and thanks
Dennis,
so much for being
great
here.
to see you again.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay.
Dennis.
Yes.
I'm Vicki.
Good to see you. Tell me about who you are, what you do, why you're here. David, could you do me one quick favor before you leave? Could you
gotta
bring
get my
Tilly
banner.
inside? She's freezing. Could you
Yeah.
do that?
Somebody
Do
is.
you have
Yeah.
time to do it or both?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm going to cut this anyway and cut and edit. Okay.
I got banners, too.
We're here with a number of people. We're just organizing, getting ready to march. I'll be right inside. Get inside now. It's too cold out here. And
you get it? You got it? Yeah.
just want to get everybody so
Oh,
far.
okay.
Okay, I'm going to cut and paste it. So, I'm talking now to other people who are part of the demonstration, and tell us who you are, why you're here, and something about what we're doing today.
Okay, my name is Vicki Henry, and I'm president of Women Against Registry. We're a national organization, and we advocate for the families of registrants because of the collateral damage that they go through. And we are against a public registry of any kind, and so we just want to bring awareness to the damage that it's doing to our folks, up to and including probably one registrant a month being killed because their name is on the registry.
Thank you, thank you. And say something about who you are and why you're here.
I'm Christine Smith, and I'm here to support Vicki, and I'm also here to support my son, who is also on the registry since he's been 19.
Okay.
And the registries do not
Thank you.
work.
And we have some literature, and people are starting to organize to get together. Tell us who you are and why you're here, where you come from.
Yes, my name is Derek Logue. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm a registered citizen, and I also run my own website called oncefallen.com. I have been an activist for the rights of former offenders for roughly a decade now because obviously the sex offender laws need to be abolished. I mean, the registry needs to be gone, residency restrictions need to be gone. We need to put more emphasis on rehabilitation programs, restorative justice, and reintegration programs, and stop with all of these punitive laws. The registry kills people. We've had hundreds of people being attacked by vigilante violence. I've been attacked myself, not physically, but over the internet and whatnot. But I've known individuals who have been attacked physically, and I believe that I'm here in support today because I believe that the only way that some people are going to truly understand the pain of being put on the registry is for them to experience being put on the registry themselves. And yes, it's embarrassing, and I hope that they understand through this little experience that it harms us as much as it's harming them.
The camera's shaking. It's so cold out here. Thank you. And you came all the way from
Cincinnati, Ohio.
to be here. People have come from all over. Thank you. Thank you.